Don't Stop Believin, Every Man's Journey follows the real-life rock and roll fairy tale of Filipino Arnel Pineda, who was plucked from YouTube to become the frontman for iconic American rock band Journey. In the Cinderella story for the ages, Arnel, having overcome a lifetime's worth of hardships, must now navigate the immense pressures of replacing a legendary singer and leading a world-renowned band on their most extensive world tour in years. My guests today include the director behind Don't Stop Believin, Ramona Diaz. Ramona, with this documentary, the Philippines-born filmmaker returns to her Pinoy roots for the fourth time. She began with a 1996 documentary, Spirits Rising, about women's role in the 1986 People Power Revolution in the Philippines. In 2003's Imelda, Díaz gained unprecedented access to the infamous First Lady. The film went on to win the Excellence in Cinematography Award for documentary at the 2004 Sundance Film Festival. Díaz followed up Imelda with The Learning, which broadcast on POV in 2011, which was about a group of Filipino immigrant women and their first year teaching in the Baltimore school system. Don't Stop Believin, Every Man's Journey.
Yes.
Directed by Ramona Diaz, who is here today, as well as two of the film's producers, Capella, Fahoome Brogdon.
Yes.
Did I get that right? And, help me here because I may not. And executive producer Josh Green.
I actually want to say something before.
Please.
That title, I don't even remember when that came up. Ramona came up with that.
It's got two titles.
Two titles, but she came up with that like in a very, very, I can't even remember when that happened, and it never went away. Like it was one of those stroke of geniuses that just really stuck. And to this, do you remember how you came up with that?
I never thought we'd keep it.
Talking to
you didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it. I just thought it was kind of, it was kind of placeholder, and it worked, but we just kind of went, jumped into making the movie, obviously, and weren't really worried about branding it necessarily yet. But it's kind of amazing. The movie organically that's what it became. That's what it always was. It just fit.
I always thought that Don't Stop Believin' has to be in the title, right? At some point I thought, okay, we have to have Don't Stop Believin' because that's what everyone knows, right? And it's such an anthem.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it is iconic. And then Journey, but Arnel is the everyman, right? An everyman with, of course, humongous talent, but
great pipes.
Yep. Nevertheless, the everyman. So I'm not sure. It's just one of those times when I was just writing the treatment and not knowing whether we were going to do it, and you hope, and then you write underneath working title. And then at some point, it just stuck.
Yeah. Well, it's a great title. I saw the film at Tribeca last year, and I loved it. I got swept up in it. And I was never, I was never a Journey fan now. I had to rethink the whole thing. I went through an identity crisis. If I like anthem pop rock like this, what does it mean?
To revisit your whole youth.
That's very true. What I actually took away from this film is it's not about Arnel. It's not about this guy, even though it is, but it's not. It's about the band because they were just looking for a substitute for Steve Perry. They wanted his voice. They wanted to they wanted to give the audience what they knew, etc. And they were not necessarily phoning it in. I'm sure they put on great, stellar shows, but he ended up changing their whole world. Certainly, the way they thought about themselves as performers and as musicians, because all of a sudden they had this guy running around performing all new energy, and more importantly, a whole new audience, this whole new demographic of excited new fans, and it gave them a new lease, I thought.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say it's really not about Arnel, but about the band, because for me the impetus has always been Arnel. I don't think I would have. I mean, if Arnel had been, say, recruited to be a lounge singer in Vegas, that's still a film, but I don't think the film, like, Arnel and Journey, the combination. So, because then you get the intersection of culture and race and globalization and all that good stuff.
Right.
But, but the impetus for me has always been Arnel.
Well, let's put it this way, though. Neil Schon, who was driving the search, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. He could have chosen. There are thousands of great singers with range here who would have happily mailed in the kind of C. Perry performance that they were looking for, but they chose this kid in, well, this is not a kid, but they chose Darnell, and he was performing in a cover band in Manila.
Yes.
Was in Manila. And, I mean, and it changed the way, again, I think it just, they could have chosen anybody else.
But I think at that point, and Neil says this at some point, that he had auditioned. They had auditioned everyone. And they auditioned lead singers for cover bands, Journey cover bands. But they couldn't find anyone that could really, bring in that special quality.
Right.
And he found it in Arnel. It's just,
right.
Yeah.
But it's Arnel, so they said they chose somebody who would change the band. Whether
I don't think they knew, though, that it was going to change the band, right?
I'm too Freudian. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah,
Stop talking, Ramona. Let's go to Josh.
What do you think, Josh?
We've started calling the movie a bromance because you good marketing, huh? Because you do watch them become a brotherhood, and you watch him certainly has been inspired by them his whole life, and you watch him continue to be inspired by them and to live up to that pressure, but you see them kind of change and be inspired by him. And it did give them a new lease. You hear that multiple times in the movie, and I think his exuberance, his kind of youthful exuberance and talent, obviously the story kind of helped, the Cinderella story, but I think you do see kind of an impact on them, and they were reinvigorated for this next phase, and I don't know that would have happened with just any lead singer.
Okay. All right, I'm swayed. Capella.
I think it was serendipity. I don't think by any means they knew that.
Well,
watching him.
Right. And I think what I'm saying is, as a Freudian,
oh, maybe.
You never do think that, but it's still,
maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it was
I
a
go
lot
deep.
of. I mean,
I'm very deep. This is a very deep show. I thought you would have known this one. You didn't listen to the show.
As a matter of fact, I think it was a great leap of faith especially for Jonathan Cain. Neil was used to just going after talent. Mm-hmm. He can smell talent, right? Even through the internet. But it was John who needed convincing, and it was really a leap of faith. They had no idea. I mean, could he speak English? Could he? Right. Can he even get a visa to come to this country? It was very complicated.
Because if he performed for more than 3 people,
he's never. Yeah, maybe 30.
Can you describe? Let's take a step back and maybe give a little bit of a description of the film. And
okay, Don't Stop Believin, Every Man's Journey is really about the iconic American band Journey looking for a lead singer in 2007 and actually finding someone in the Philippines singing in marginalized bands in the back streets of Manila. And they fly him over to audition for the gig. He gets the gig, and we decide to follow his first year with the band. So that's the crux. That is the narrative. And so Arnel really is a character. It's the main character of the film against the backdrop, of course, of very iconic Journey songs. Right. I mean, even if you think you don't know Journey, you know Journey. I always say if you've been to a prom or a wedding in this country, you know Journey. So that's a song.
Or have you just been walking through a store or an elevator ride? You can't not hear Journey. Don't care how much you try to control your listening habits.
Like how you said in the beginning of the interview, you said, I don't consider myself a Journey fan. And I really find that most men don't. Like, men don't consider themselves Journey fans. Although when they hear individual songs, they will acknowledge that those individual songs are good songs, but still not a Journey fan.
I think there are a lot of closet Journey fans. I've met a lot of closet
guilty
Journey
pleasures.
Fans.
Yeah, and you forget how many of those songs were Journey, like over the years. I mean, it's
exactly
like even when I got involved with this, I was like, oh my God, that was Journey, and that was Journey, and that was, and then you realize, oh wait a second, I do like Journey so much.
And also, we forgot another major reason why you can't escape Journey. Anybody who's gone to a karaoke party or karaoke bar, there's going to be Journey.
Which is
people love singing Journey.
But
I know, because you can't sing
it.
It is hard
to sing. So
it is.
Why did they choose
Because you're
Journey?
drunk. And when you're drunk, you don't have common...
And we're happy to end this podcast singing a Journey song for you.
Oh,
just so
John, yourself, Josh.
Let's.
Then people will stop listening.
Well, do you guys have a favorite Journey song? If we go around the room,
I like "Stone in Love," and "Only the Young." Right? That's the title, right? "Only the Young."
It sounds like a Roy Orbison song, but it is.
But it isn't. See, this is the magic of
Yes,
Journey.
exactly.
I'm going to go with Separate Ways and Who's Crying Now and Open Arms.
Oh my God, Open Arms.
I'm sensitive.
You are.
Separate Ways and Faithfully.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for your honesty. Wow.
Oh, should we not have been honest about that?
No, I think
What's
Open
your
Arms.
favorite?
I have to say Open Arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then maybe Don't Stop Believin'. But
yeah.
I'm a very easy, I don't suffer. I stopped listening to classic rock and the corporate radio stations that play top 40 and AAA radio and all that stuff. I don't listen to that. I listen to, specific indie and singer, songwriter, sensitive stuff and alternative rock and,
Indian?
and I can't wait for my kid to get old enough, world music to some degree. But I would rather hear them now in concert than listen to the old albums. That's me because I actually was in the music industry. I worked at Sony Music for 10 years. That's my background.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went to I've gone to many concerts, many of which I wouldn't have thought I would have gone to, but you get a new appreciation for performers. And I didn't come into this film skeptically, Let me ask you a question as producers too, this applies to all three of you. How do you go into a rock doc, okay, for another expression you may not like, but how do you do a rock doc or a music doc and avoid that classic VH1 behind the music that's got to be there looming, or maybe it's not.
Me, it's about staying true to the story. I gotta, like I said, I was attracted to Arnel and his story and that whole crazy, unlikely tale of being, coming from the Philippines and fronting this big act. Crazy story. So I think if I stay true to that story and follow him, it might avoid all the cliches. That's my hope, But I don't think as I'm shooting that I'm thinking, gotta avoid VH, because that's just too much. And also, once you get access, once you're given the keys to the kingdom, as it were, you can really make it anything you want in the edit room, right? Of course, we still have to stay true to the story.
Right.
But I think you can avoid all those conventions and all those cliches once you get to the edit room and make your choices.
Right.
I think the vision was never that it was going to be a concert doc with some interstitial interviews just cut between it. It was always like, this is going to be a real narrative. We're going to follow this in real time. It's from Arnel's kind of point of view.
That was actually very hard. Because in the beginning, before we were in this, and this is a whole nother story that we can tell you, but before we were in this circle of trust, that's all they wanted us to film was the performances. When we would ask for access to the bus or to the dressing room or to these private moments, they would always say, no, well, what can we film? You can film the concert.
Yeah, it's
like we got that the last 3 cities.
Right.
So
yeah.
Once we got within that circle of trust, it was a little
Carte
easier for
blanche.
Ramona.
There is enough concert stuff in there that, as a Journey fan, you will get your fill. The music is kind of pervasive throughout the movie, and that's what we've always loved. Just that it's certainly got something for Journey fans, but it's gotten something even if you don't like Journey.
They technically gave us access, right? They said, "Okay, come on board." When they realized
This is authorized, in other words.
Otherwise we couldn't have been in the dressing rooms, and it's still independent, though. That's what we really have to say. It's not. This is not a vanity project by Journey by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, because we funded it, barely funded it, but that's a whole other podcast that we should. It's like funding 101.
Yeah.
What not to do. Anyway, but
or lack of funding 101.
Yeah, basically it was us in our small minivan trying to keep up with big touring buses, getting to the next city, driving all night, singing Journey songs to keep awake. So we get to the next city, sleep for 2 hours, wake up, do it all over again, in order to make those 2 hours on stage look perfect. That's what they do. This is what touring is, it's not glamorous by any means. And that was a surprise to me. But, what I was going to say was access. Okay, although they understood it in their heads, they didn't really know what it meant. So they didn't understand that we were going to be there constantly. And, we sold it as, don't worry, we're going to be flies on the wall. You won't even notice us. And they're like, okay, sure, come on board. And then, of course, cut. Okay, we're noticing you. You said you'd be flies on the wall. And we're like, that's a metaphor because we're still people. You will still see us, but hopefully don't mind us.
Right.
Yeah, it was a negotiating process throughout the summer. It's like, okay, you can have access, but we won't give you the badges. Oh, we need a badge because we need to be backstage. Okay, here are badges. And then we realized, we need a star on the badge because so the security won't stop us every time. So, okay, we need stars. Okay, give us stars. And then we found out we need gold stars to get into like the nexus, into the center, like the dressing rooms. So we go back, we go, guys, we need gold stars. So they give me gold stars. They don't give anyone else gold stars. What's the point of me being
without
there?
The crew.
Yeah. So it was a process. It's just like, you know what I'm saying.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Right. This is Adam Shartoff, host of Filmwax Radio, the independent film talk show, Wednesday nights, 6:30 to 7:30 on bboxradio.com.
We needed a singer. We needed a singer badly. We had an album planned. We really weren't sure where we were going to go. I think we all were stressing about it somewhat. Neil spent all of his waking time on the internet.
I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked. I was getting really burnt out. I wasn't finding anyone. I stumbled upon Arnel like in the 11th hour when I was ready to give up. I just clicked on a link, like I'll give it one last push, and I pushed it, and, Arnel popped up with his band singing in Manila.
Highway ride into the midnight sun. Wheels go round around on my mind.
And I go.
Okay, well, we're speaking with Ramona Diaz, the director of Don't Stop Believin', Every Man's Journey, and we're joined by two of the executive producers of the film, Capella, Fahoome and Josh Green. The film, let's talk about it now that we're all in one room here.
In select theaters March 8th and VOD March 9th everywhere in the U.S.
Bam. Okay, it's currently on demand. There's no excuse for any person with an internet connection.
No excuse whatsoever. However, if it's screening at a theater near you, you must really get up,
really should.
Go to the theater because the sound is amazing. We took such pains.
And it works.
Such pains.
It works. It sounds great. It looks great. I mean, it really should be in 3D.
You want to finance that? We can do it.
Filmwax 3D presents. Yeah. I'm telling you, that it could benefit. It lends itself because of the nature of the music. The sound is so big, and, it's great. It really is. I was like, when he was singing, I was getting all teary, and moved.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Are you gonna cut that out, or that's gonna be a part of this? You're gonna admit?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Who's crying now?
No, I'll let him.
Another Journey song.
So I asked this invariably of almost every documentary filmmaker, and that is, great reviews, the best, right? Great audience buy-in.
Great audience response.
It's so great for a documentary filmmaker who's doing this on fumes, right? But what I was going to get to is, what is better than when it's endorsed by the subjects, when they watch it that first time and they say, "You got it."
That's gold. That's really that's the moment that you've caught something special. We screened it for the band right before we premiered in Tribeca last year. We all flew to Nashville because they were all there for a benefit. So not only the band, but the band's management, the band's accountants, lawyers, everyone was there. They hadn't seen a frame before then because that was the deal, right? We got final cut. And I think by then they had given up on the film because, it's par for the course, right? Documentary films take longer than, say, recording an album.
Sure.
So by then, I don't think they knew what they were going to see. I mean, they knew it was a film, but I don't think they realized it was going to be that film. And so that was the most nerve-wracking audience, I think. I was crazy nervous. I couldn't stay in the room. And of course, Arnel didn't want to watch it with a band. He was so, I think, afraid because he had never seen it and he knew it was about him, really. So I agreed, okay, Arnel, we're going to show it to the band in the small theater on a big screen. And after that, we'll go to your hotel room. You watch it there and we'll wait. I mean, you can watch it however way you want it. I didn't want to put him in a position where it would embarrass him. But John Barrack, his manager, the band's manager, said, no, he's got to see it with us because he has to see it that way. Because in the future, he's going to see it with audiences, and it's got to be now. It's the safest audience. He's with his bandmates.
Right.
So he sat in a corner, actually, and he was like this the entire time. And I would like look over my shoulder. I'm like, okay, is he still smiling? What, is he still in the room? I was so nervous. I remember the lights going up, and he approached me. He gave me a big hug, and then he left the room. I mean, I think he was very overcome. He didn't even speak.
Yeah. It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
Really is, I'm sure. And he realized just watching it like that from the perspective of an audience member. Were you there, Josh?
Yes, I was. It was fascinating to just watch their reactions while it was playing, and they had significant others and wives, and there was so much riding on that because, yes, we had committed to Tribeca already, and they had never seen it, and there were a lot of business dealings to kind of work out with music rights and the legal side of things, and so they had their lawyers and accountants in there, and it their management team and them, and it was a lot at stake. Yeah, I think we was a collective huge sigh of relief once that happened, and they just kind of got it, and they were entertained by it, and they were so thankful. And there have been challenges since then, but it did facilitate getting to where we are now. And
it's never easy.
It's don't stop believing.
Don't stop
Right.
believing.
You got to keep believing.
Yeah, I think because we were having conversations with their business managers sort of before that screening, and they were harder conversations than they were after the screening. So I think that made us, that was a big reassurance, right?
Right.
And also I think we had probably pulled out footage from years ago that they had never seen, or totally forgot about. So there was a lot of like giggling and, pointing throughout the movie. I think it was like a lot of, sort of memory lane type of stuff for them.
I'm sure.
Yeah. It was a good time, but it was one of the scariest times in my whole filmmaking history. Because like Josh said, they could have said, thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
We don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I guess
don't call us, we'll call you.
Right. You don't want to spend too much time in that world thinking of that, what that would have looked like, No. So describe what the plans are for the opening and the premieres and any kind of...
No, we're very excited. So as we said, March 8th, the movie opens in about 25 theaters across the country. And we have a couple play dates planned for after March 8th in the coming weeks in March. And then March 9th, and it's mostly the major cities, but check our website. I don't know if you're going to have our website posted, but it's everymansjourney.com. March 9th, the day later, it's going to be available on demand platforms, so via cable and satellite, on demand channels and premium digital rentals, so iTunes and Amazon. So yes, no excuse not to see this wonderful movie.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes. If the movie opens strong out the gate theatrically, we have a fantastic distributor, Cinedime Entertainment, that is prepared to expand and blow it out further. And we're lucky. There's a lot of great word of mouth on the street, a lot of great press. We've done a lot of great screenings, and we have some wonderful kind of built-in audiences. But we believe that this is a crossover movie. There's really something for everybody here. So we're hoping it gets out far and wide, and thank everybody for their support.
We've been touring this film, various film festivals, and I know film festival audiences are different than regular theater-going audiences, but I think we've seen enough a variety of audiences to realize there's really something in it for everyone. It spans like generations. We've screened like in where was that? Where we in Palm Springs? Like we got the audience award in Palm Springs, and they were really an older audience, and they really went for it. It was incredible, and also Traverse City. Michael Moore's Michael Moore's Film Festival. We also received the audience award for that. Yeah, and they went crazy in the middle of the country. I mean, they really got it. These were not Journey fans, and they were older.
Well, I think it's a classic story.
Yeah, it is, and I think we just need to get that across that it is this classic story, but with but in an amazing backstory and an amazing guy in the center of the story. He's just very lovable. I think it was you, right? A woman came up to you at Tribeca. I said, I just wish I could take Arnel home in my pocket or something.
Yeah. Lots of people have said that. You just want to, pack him up and put him in your pocket and take him home because he's so cute and lovable and squishy
and enormous.
Squishy.
But he makes a lot of noise. All of a sudden, you have him, and then in the middle, you put him in his little box, and then all of a sudden,
and then he starts
in the middle of the night, he's
tunes.
belting out these enormous with those.
He's infectious, and I think people, Journey fans and a lot of people love the music. But I think you kind of fall in love with Arnel in the early moments, and because he's so, again, he's so charismatic, so self-reflective, so humble,
and giving,
funny, giving, entertaining, and you know, you just kind of root for him the whole movie, and then yes, you'll be singing along also, but it's really the combination of that intimate kind of rags to riches Cinderella story with the songs.
Yeah.
And a very, very, very modern story because it's a YouTube story.
Right.
This story could not have happened 15
Neil
years ago.
Schoen, who is the guitarist.
He's
for
the lead
band,
guitar and really a founding member of the band.
Right. He's one of the original members, and he was up one night and kind of have almost given up on this job of finding the replacement lead singer, and came across Arnel's video and
he clicked just one last time.
And then couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Yes.
So Arnel was in a cover band as a young guy who living kind of on the edge, right? I mean, he was not.
No, he was not. He wasn't famous at all in the Philippines.
Oh no, I know, yeah. And but living in Manila and then all
almost
of a sudden,
also giving
and the great
up.
thing is right,
Yeah.
sure. And then all of a sudden gets some call and he hung up on.
No,
what
actually,
was the
his
story?
friend, and
He
biggest
thought he was
fan,
being-
his friend and biggest fan, Noel Gomez, who
right.
he was the one who actually posted all those songs
he
on
posted
YouTube.
them,
He
right.
posted them. He was really Arnel's biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either don't stop believing or surround yourself with people who don't stop believing in you.
For you,
Because this is
right.
really Noel. He's an unsung hero here.
Yeah.
He posted all these songs on YouTube, and when Neil saw it, it was Noel's email address because it was his YouTube channel. So he got in touch first with Noel and said, I'm Neil Schoen, I'm the lead, blah, blah, blah. And Noel calls Arnel and says, hey, man, this is our big break. I mean, so sweet and innocent. And of course, I would be like, oh, what a prank, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But he was like, this is our big break. And Arnel was like, please, Noel, don't believe everything you hear or, get on the internet.
Yeah.
But he was a believer. He was like, no, I feel this is something. So he's a guy.
I hope everybody will take advantage of that. It's playing nearby and go see it this week. I had a great time seeing it and great time getting to know Ramona subsequently, which was a nice treat that our worlds kind of collided or converged.
Right.
And thank you, Capella and Josh, and good luck. I don't think I have to
Can I
say
say
it.
just one more thing? I think there's really something to be said for seeing it with an audience. Because this is a film. It's a theatrical experience. When you go to a theater, of course you can see it on VOD, and please, yes, see it on VOD again after you see it in a theater. But
tell
there's
your
something
friends
magical that happens in a theater because that communal feeling is pretty incredible.
It's
so
true.
That's what I want to say.
And no, thank you. And I do feel it is this close to the concert experience that you're going to get without actually being at the concert, which you can't get at home, of course.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
Okay.